Putin moves south. I'm going to continue with the rules highlights. Struggle for Eurasian Heartland, Modern War Magazine, number 37. I think I left off with, the victory points and the victory point tabulations. So again, you got all these different kinds of objectives, like military bases and capitals and nuclear sites and ports, etc. And then also eliminated enemy ground units, but not including your air and SF units. And then finally, the coalition adds the number of Russian cities controlled by coalition forces. So that's a third and, I don't know, special category, but separate category. And again, because I'm thinking about it, the cities are marked. Yeah, they are marked with luckily a border color. So you got this border color, or whatever color that is, kind of a grayish purple. That's Iran. This tan color is Central Asian. Again, Central Asian cities. Green for coalition, like Herat here. Green, and then finally blue for Russian cities. Yeah. So Chinese cities, by the way, are considered coalition. Oh yeah, okay, so it's coalition, Iran, Central Asian, and Russian. Those are the four, I guess, major categories. So then let's see, we got the turn sequence. For very simple turn sequence. Really only three very simple phases. First, you're going to determine how each player determines how many action points they're going to have for that turn. Then you have the action phase where you're alternating taking action. Again, there is no major alterations, no major changes or alternates to this. It is pretty much a strict action by action, back and forth, other than passing. And then you have a turn, very simple turn end phase. And that's it, which is kind of nice. Then in general, you're going to state your action that you're going to take. You're going to expend the action points for that action, and then you're going to execute the action. Again, nice and fairly simple. You have the shock mechanic, which doesn't seem to be a huge factor. It's basically an extra die roll for extra action points. Mostly, well, that's what I've seen so far. Garrison units, haven't seen anything major, but something to remember is the insurgency operations optional rule. Play with it. So that allows you to use your soft units, like your NATO SAS unit there, to go, yeah, here is a good Baikonur. Here's a good example. Use the SF unit to turn the city, the garrison, friendly. Great little added thing there. Stacking, very simple. Basically one unit, well, there's always one garrison. Garrison units don't move. Garrison units are not eliminated. Garrison units are a hard feature again. One fob, any number of SF units, which will only be on the board when they're actually contributing to the combat, and then air units up to the stacking limit. So there is no stacking limit for the SF units. There are stacking limits for the air units when they're on the map. Overstacking, fog of war. You cannot look at your opponent's units on their turn track or off-map areas. Is what I understand. All right. Reinforcements, pretty straightforward. Regrouping and recycling. That's kind of interesting. Nothing complicated though at all. This game uses the recycle your units by putting them well, you determine by a die roll, but then you put them forward that number of turns on the turn track. There's one thing that I would add, and that is, so when you're done using an SF unit, I'll go back to my NATO SAS unit that's in my staging area. If I use it, it does an action. When it's done, I roll the die, right? And so this, roll a 2, that means that this SAS unit is going to be put on the turn track 2 turns ahead, and then it'll come back, no issues on that turn. However, if it's turn 5 and I roll a 6, that goes to turn, what did I say? If it's turn 5, that would take you to turn 11. There are only 10 turns in the game, so therefore the unit would be eliminated. The one thing I would add, I would say if you could spend something, maybe spend action points or something to get the unit on, basically onto the turn track, and then I would let you do it at any time. So what I mean is, it's only turn 3 now. If I use the SAS unit and I roll a 6, it would come in on the 9th turn. Well, if I wanted to come in on the, you know, the 5th turn instead, I wonder if there isn't a way to pay action points, or for example action points, or some other cost, some other cost, pay some cost to get it. Maybe it's even you permanently, because you don't really permanently, you don't lose units just by using the soft units, just by using them, but maybe you can pay in soft units. Maybe you can pay with units that are already on the turn track to bring the unit you want closer to. But anyways, just seems a little steep of a, I don't know, of a limitation that it's just one die roll and that's how many turns ahead the unit comes back, and if it goes beyond turn 10, it's gone in the game. Seems a little harsh. Unit movement, pretty straightforward. Yeah, airborne movement, amphibious movement, ground combat. The basics of combat, very simple. You're only going to have one combat unit per hex. You're only going to have one combat unit that can attack per hex, because garrison units don't attack. So it's very simple. You're only going to have up to 6 units can possibly attack. You only attack by adjacent units. Again, your enablers come from the staging area, so hexes and ranges are irrelevant. You're going to pay an action point per unit to attack. It is basic combat odds. Then you have a bunch of combat column shifts. Actually, they're not that many. Actually, it's pretty simple. You know, column shifts for your terrain, column shifts for a concentric attack, which is that's the same traditional idea of a concentric attack. There's nothing funny there, nothing unusual. SF units committed, air committed, and that is what's misleading, because on the map, on the CRT, it says air supported one-time support factor, but it is by unit. Wonder if they shouldn't change that. I don't know. I don't want to get into that kind of nitpicking. You have your text-based combat results. That's what I call it. I call it text-based. So you have attacker attrition, attack stalled, bloodbath, defender eliminated, defender attrition, defender retreat. You have hyperwar units. Well, I've talked about the units, but that hyperwar units, I think, slightly change the results. Yeah. Well, no, there is an HW1 result that you can get if you have hyperwar units involved in the attack. Zones of control, this changes. It should be all mobile units. Okay. And that's it for now.